all before I begin this broadcast proper. Again, remember, I am having very many important announcements to bring to you today. And I would like to start with that right now while we are hitting the 1,000 group. We have just about 70-something people to hit before we hit the 1,000 number. Now, I want you to know, some of you have read these already in the social media, that I have launched a digital radio called Scan Radio. Scan Radio is a news radio that would be coming to you live every day, 24/7 from the platform of the Southern Cameroon's Journal. That is why it is called the Southern Cameroon's News Radio. It's a 24/7 news radio. All you need to do, you don't need a regular radio to be able to listen to our transmission. All you need is your Android phone or Apple phone to be able to listen to the broadcast every blessed day of the week. All you need to do is go on the Apple Store or Google Play Store, download the app, and please download the app and install it, and you will be ready to share, to start listening the radio. Again, the app is Scan Radio. The app, Scan Radio. Go to Play Store. Go to Apple Store. Any of these platforms, Android and Apple, download the app. Scan Radio, all one word. Scan Radio. S-C-A-N, Scan Radio. And you'll be able to download the app there. Now, I also want you to know that the interim government has nothing to do with Scan Radio. Scan Radio is a personal initiative. I have been working on it for about 8 months running. Initially I thought I was going to launch it last October last year. Unfortunately, I just wasn't able to get the app available then. But right now, everything is all set. We are doing test broadcasting, regular and consistent news broadcasting. News 24/7 will be broadcast beginning May 15. But right now we are doing a test broadcast. We are giving you the chance, the opportunity to go on Play Store and Apple Store, download the app. Within 2 or 3 days of announcement, we already have close to 2,000 people who have downloaded the app. We want at least that app in 1 million people's phones in the diaspora and in Cameroon. And the good thing in this radio is that you don't have to be at in ground zero to be able to receive it. Anywhere in the world where you have an Android phone or Apple phone, you will be able to listen to the radio 24/7, no matter where you are, no matter where you live. So long as you have your phone and data in your phone, you did be able to listen to the broadcast anywhere in the world 24/7. We are going to take care of fake news. The time of fake news is over. And the time of social media propaganda, baseless propaganda, that moment is over. Now you have a source where you can listen to real news without propaganda. I am going to take a moment to step out of here, and when I come back, I will begin this broadcast proper. Thank you. I'll be right back. All right, I am back, and we have over 1,200 people watching right now. Before I go into the broadcast proper, I want to bring a couple of two more announcements to you. The first announcement, which I promise I am bringing to you, has to do with the launching of the national ID cards. for all Ambazonians, be they in the diaspora or at the home front. The interim government has launched a national ID card. The cards are now available. Unfortunately, I am not able to show you the cards on the screen here, but if you will go to the website, we will bring you the information about the websites where you can go and take a look of the ID cards and also be able to purchase one for yourself. But the interim government has just launched our national ID card for the Federal Republic of Ambazonia. Every Ambazonian should be very proud of these ID cards. They are out in every country. If you live in Canada, if you live in London, if you live in Germany, you live in Belgium, you live in Norway, wherever that you live, where we have our country heads, you will be able to find those cards, those ID cards, in any of these countries. So please, that is one more development. That is one more thing to let you know. This interim government is making progress, is working for you. We are hoping that in the near future, we will be able also to produce passports that are recognizable, and so that we are no longer victims to the Republic of Cameroon refusing to renew or issue passports for Southern Cameroonians. Now, the second very important announcement that I want to bring to you has to do with the investigation into the Naira Hotel abductions which took place in Nigeria on January 5th. You are certainly aware that a few months ago, the acting president announced an investigation that was set up by the interim government to look into what happened, who was involved, who knew what. Now, I come to you today to let you know that investigation has been concluded, and we are waiting for the report. The report of that investigation should be out either today or tomorrow. But the interim government wanted me to bring this to your attention. One of these days, possibly by Friday, the acting president will be out to formally present the report of that investigation. So please hold your peace. You will be getting the news either tomorrow or Friday, between now and Friday, the result of the Naira Hotel Abuja investigation. You will be made to understand what transpired in Abuja. So please, thanks for joining. I have 1,400 people and counting watching right now. So please, I am going to go now into this broadcast proper. And I hope that you will continue to share the link as I bring the broadcast to you. Share the link as I bring you the broadcast. Share the link as I bring you the broadcast. Fellow Ambazonians, good evening. You will recall that on November 30, 2017, neighboring French Cameroon leader Paul Biya declared war on us. The war is 6 months old now, and I have come to your homes today to report that contrary to what Paul Biya envisaged at the declaration of the war, Ambazonians have not the least been shaken nor conquered through the war. Though invading troops from his country continue to kill, maim, burn down towns and villages, and forcing so many of our people into hardship and into the bushes and to refugees camps. All towns and villages, which you know have been deserted by the residents after La Republique du Cameroon soldiers invaded them. The soldiers have ravaged the towns, shutting down hospitals, schools closed, and shops looted. and burned by the Cameroon soldiers. All of this notwithstanding, I report to you on the behalf of the interim government of Ambazonia that the state of our revolution remains very strong, indicative of our continuous resilience and resolve to keep on fighting till we get to the foot of the mountain in Boya. Remain our state of the state of the revolution remains very, very strong. We are currently facing many and tougher challenges at this very moment in the revolution, both internally and externally. Internally, that is within the revolution, there is a mob of saboteurs who, failing both to lead and to hijack the revolution, appear bent on unsettling the gains that we have made so far. They are leaving no stone unturned to frustrate and to dampen our courage and collective drive to Boya. They are trying harder, really, really harder, every passing day to sow seeds of division, mutual suspicion, and acrimony through blackmail, intimidation, and fabricated scandals. They hire surrogates who assume different counterfeit names on different social media platforms to invent rumors, slander, blackmail, and attacks, especially against the interim government. Let it be known that the interim government is aware of their ultimate goal, which is to disrupt the ongoing fundraising for my trip to Boya. They want it to fail. They want our trip to Boya to be a failure. And they hope that after it fails, they will take over from there and find themselves leading the ship to Boya. I want to assure you that the interim government remains unperturbed. It has refused to be dragged into the mud. The interim government remains focused on the revolution's business and committed more than ever before to lead us to Boya. While the interim government remains steadfast, we are appealing to every Ambazonian to refuse to be distracted by those whose business is to focus on getting you feeling disillusioned and discouraged. These same elements who claim to be fighting for our total freedom, but whose reactions instead betray them as agents of La République du Cameroun, they keep on making insinuations of how the interim government is this and is that. They are telling you how the interim government is not doing this and is not doing that. They tell you how the interim government is collecting money to invest in some nameless project or enterprise, and how members of the interim government are neither here nor there. Please, do not be deceived. The interim government is actually making progress. I mean, lots of progress. Lots of progress. And the kingdom of hell is about unleashing its demons to distract and discourage the masses, all of you out there. This interim government has no other business other than to deliver all of us from the yoke of slavery that French Cameroon has since kept us in for the last 55 years. In spite of all of this, the interim government has continued to register tremendous progress. My trip to Boya continues to see Ambazonians demonstrate utmost generosity in paying for their tickets to Boya. The trip to Boya campaign will come to an end this month end, that is this May, and it is hoped that the $2 million target would have been reached. If you have not yet secured your place in the trip or flight, please consider doing so today. Besides my trip to Boya campaign, self-defense remains the rallying call of your interim government, and it's much more organized, better coordinated, and better funded than any other group that you can think about. Recently, the interim government created the ASC, the Ambazonian Defense Council, to consolidate all ground self-defense groups. That means going forward, every emerging group involved in self-defense and ground zero or in this revolution must come under the ASC, the Ambazonian Self-Defense Council umbrella, to be able to operate and to gain legitimacy. Henceforth, any group or groups operating apart from the ANC or beside the ANC, the ASC will be considered as La République du Cameroon or Atanga Ponji's militia and will be treated accordingly. The interim government is equally actively making sure that there is coordinated and collaborative action between the different restoration forces, and it continues to show that their financial responsibilities as a result of the collaborative initiative. The interim government will continue to support all these self-defense groups till our blue and white color stripe flag is erected in Boya permanently. The interim government has also very recently made some diplomatic advances which for their very nature can only be made mention here. The interim government continues to meet on a regular weekly basis to evaluate, deliberate, and to take action necessitated by movements and developments on ground zero, especially in the face of increasing calls for dialogue. The interim government has put up different commissions to study and make recommendations on the developing political and diplomatic temperatures in ground zero. The commissions are charged with recommendations on how to approach every political or diplomatic development on the ground. In the face of re-emergent calls for dialogue, the interim government continues to stand on the position that the time for the type of dialogue that La République du Cameroon wants has passed. Our position is that of a negotiated settlement that sees Ambazonia parting ways from La République du Cameroon for good. There can be no compromise to this position. The interim government has also continued to show that the ever-increasing challenges of a rising refugee population, the wounded, the over 3,000 incarcerated Ambazonians, and the financial burdens of those we must defend in courts, be they in Nigeria or in Cameroon. These and many others that I cannot name here are the internal burdens that the interim government continues to address. Let me note here that not knowing what the interim government is doing or has been doing can make it very tempting to sit back, listen to all the attacks, and then throw punches. If I may ask, is there any of the liberation or restoration movements that is out there, that is out there doing or has done what the interim government has done? In fact, there is none. If there is any, you are free, you are at liberty to join it and to support it. But if you know that there is none, please let us unite. Let us come together and pool our resources into the interim government to regain our country and our freedoms. Again and again, I have had to ask myself this question: is there any other group out there that I can pitch my tent if I happen to leave the interim government? Is there any other group out there? The answer is no. And of course, that is not to say that there are no other groups out there. Absolutely not. But do they command the respect and carry the organizational or structural maturity or weight that should deliver independence to all of us? Do they command the structure of the interim government? Of course not. Fellow Ambazonians, we are at the most crucial moment in our fight for self-determination. I must tell you now, that this is the moment, this is the time we will either make it or mar this struggle. Let us therefore run away from those who seek to divide us. Let us run away from those who are in the habit of thinking that they know it all, but who have never ever delivered on anything except for false claims. Let us run away from those who think that they and they only can take us to Boya. Let us run away from so-called leaders who have nothing to show and nothing to offer for their activism but divisions, rancor, and grandstanding. Let us run away. Let us run away from leaders who think that they must kill everybody who stand on their way, just so they are the ones to take the rest or those who remain to Boya. The sanity and morality that protects its own must never escape us as we execute this revolution to its ultimate end. And this is what this interim government stands for. We must continue to protect our own, because this revolution isn't against us. It is for us. Fellow Ambazonians, in the recent past, we have seen very many desperate attempts by the Yaoundé regime to frustrate our resilience and our courage to continue the pursuit of our total independence. They appointed Paul Atanganji, a prison graduate, territorial administration minister. And one of the first things he does is to get out there into our communities, recruiting private militias who are out there wreaking havoc besides what the invading troops of LRC are already doing. After Paul Atanganji's plans seem to have failed or worked against him, they indulged in another clandestine plot to kill our young ones ranging from the age 14 to 50. 2 weeks ago, it was brought to the attention of the interim government that some clandestine vaccination campaign was being carried out in our territory. A campaign meant to vaccinate our children to death before they grow up to learn our history and to defend our country, Ambazonia. So far, God Almighty has been on our side. The mighty hand of God is destroying most of the evil plans of La République du Cameroon against our people. God has been using their own very people to expose their evil plans. I will give you one typical example. At the colonial governor's office in Boya a few weeks ago, they reached an agreement to go to Libya to bomb hideouts of the youths who have since taken refuge in the bush. A military jet was sent out from Boya to go and survey and spy on the hideout of the youths in Libya. As I speak to you now, the only thing the military is still waiting for are instructions from the governor, the colonial governor, to go out and bomb Libya. The person to lead the operation is one General Milingi Noma. It will interest you to know that General Milingi Noma was the commander at the military headquarters brigade. He is an old man who went on retirement in 2016. And only 2 weeks into retirement, Paul Biya brought him back to the service. That was barely after this crisis started. He also worked at the presidency for quite a long time. He is the one to lead the bombing assault on the BLM. But thank God, Milingi's close associates are empathizers of Ambazonian struggle. Thanks to them, we now have the plan exposed to us. We are now aware of the plot, and the youth in the BLM will not have to die untimely deaths. However, while some of these plans have been leaked to us to prevent such massive damage on our people, occupational troops, which are now stationed in almost every city, every town and village in the southern Cameroons, continue to wreak havoc, genocide. If the world has any doubt still that our Republic of Cameroon troops are burning down towns and villages in Ambazonia, what happened in Libya as caught on camera in the video footage that is making rounds on social media should mark an end to the doubts. In Azi, a small town in Libya, occupation troops of the Republic of Cameroon are caught setting the town ablaze. A similar exercise was only yesterday repeated in the small town or village of Munyenge in the southern zone. In Moyoka, Ikona, Bafia, Batibo, Bello, Widekum, Kumba, Tombe, Bangam, Inguti. These genocidal acts perpetuated by the Cameroon soldiers continue to repeat themselves. The unfortunate thing is that while these atrocities go on unabated, the diplomatic community in Yaoundé and of course the international community just keep on doing business as usual, pretending as if nothing is going wrong in this part of the world. But their silence is a reason for which we must fight. Their silence is a reason for which fight we must continue to fight. Fellow Ambazonians, the history of great civilizations tell us that freedom is never given. Freedom is taken. Freedom wasn't given to America. Freedom wasn't given to the French either. Freedom wasn't given to Eritrea. Freedom was never given to Namibia. It was never given to Zimbabwe, not to Mozambique, and of course, not to the Southern Sudanese. It was taken. They took it. We must take our own. We must live free or die fighting. Fellow Ambazonians, we must take our country back. We must send out the French occupiers in our territory. And the time has come for us to do so. The time for dialogue has passed. Dialogue was feasible. It was possible when our brothers and sisters and parents who have been gunned down with some roasted were still alive. Dialogue was possible when all the towns and villages burned down were still standing. Dialogue was possible had the military been taken away from our towns and streets, as we requested from the beginning. Dialogue was possible if we had no reason to remember the history of yesteryears of annexation and subjugation as we do now. Dialogue was possible had we not been told that federation was off the table. Dialogue was possible had our lawyers and teachers been listened to. Dialogue was possible had the leaders of French Cameroon considered us equals with them. No, dialogue is no longer possible. Dialogue is no longer in our vocabulary. We have since laid hold on our own independence, our own national capital, and our own country. Even if they should kill all of us, our blood will cry out like the blood of Abel, and God will deliver us. For he has proven that he is on our side in this revolution. We have to remain resilient, resisting all the laws of La République du Cameroun. Fellow Ambazonians, I also have a word for all the soldiers who are sent to die in the southern Cameroons. Who do you fight for? For what? And for who do you want to die? I also like to pose the same question to all the mothers and fathers who are allowing their children to go dying like chickens in the southern Cameroons, in a war that should never have been there. For who are your children dying for? Which country are they fighting for or defending? Some of the reasons why countries build and maintain an army are to protect the territorial integrity of the country and to uphold the security of that country. Think, for example, about the war against Nigeria for Bakassi and the war against Boko Haram. Nigeria's encroachment to our territory in Bakassi violated our territorial integrity, and as such, it was a compelling war. The war launched by Boko Haram threatened French Cameroon's national security and peace. In both cases, French Cameroon have sent forces to defend the territory and its national security. You can say the soldiers who have died or who died fighting in Bakassi died defending the country. And same thing with those who have died in northern Cameroon fighting against Boko Haram. But come to think about this present war against the southern Cameroons. For who and for what is the Cameroon army being wasted? This war is certainly not about protecting the territorial integrity of a country, and neither is it about any internal peace and security. This war is about Paul Biya and Paul Biya only. It is about protecting him and all the old men who have ruled and ruined the country for themselves and themselves only. This war for which innocent soldiers are dying for is to protect only the 86-year-old Paul Biya and the infant Muketes of the world, the Kabayi Jibris of the world, the Solomon Yangs of the world, you can name the rest. I mean all these old people who never want to go on retirement in Cameroon. Do Cameroon mothers and these soldiers no longer have consciences? Why do you have your children fighting in a senseless war that they are not winning and will never win? Why? Why have your children dying to protect a dying Paul Biya and his caliphate of the old who are as good as the grave? The Paul Biya's regime cares less about the soldiers. They die and their families are never informed. They get wounded and there are no hospitals or doctors to treat them. Those who die, their corpses are hastily buried or thrown in the river, and the families are not told what happened to them. Cameroon is a country where young people fight for the country, but old people keep the jobs and keep the country. Cameroon is not worth dying for. Just look at their faces. See how old those people look like. Compare it to the young men sent out of military camps to go and die. Paul Biya isn't worth anyone dying for. It is time that you ask your children or your child to lead the Cameroon army before they die in a war that is meant to protect the old men and women that have ruined Cameroon. And to every southern Cameroonian soldier that is still fighting for French Cameroon out there, I also ask you the same question. Who are you fighting for? Who are you dying for? If you die or should die in this war, if you should perish in this war, Mr. Biya won't care, and your family will never be compensated. Why are you fighting in a war that just doesn't concern you? Why do you want to die fighting the wrong war, fighting your own brothers, your own parents, your own people? It is time for all of you to run away from the Cameroon army. Run to Ambazonia, remove your uniforms and join your people and your brothers. Or you can also run into Nigeria with your life and not have to die fighting to protect the old man called Paul Biya and his gang. To all southern Cameroonians who still think that they can remain by the sidelines watching this revolution unfold, especially those of you who can support this struggle financially, it is about time that you come out of the fringes and show your support for the revolution. The revolution needs your money. It needs your sponsorship. If ever this revolution has need for money, it is now, it is today. Records are being kept of the people who are supporting this revolution. Get your name in it. And do not think that you can sit on the sidelines and wait until when the war is fought and won, and then you show up with your money. It would be too late. To every Ambazonian in the diaspora, if all of us will sign up for a donation of just $20 a month on the website, mytriptoboya.com, imagine how much we did get in just 1 month to facilitate our entry into Boya. Get your name in the records now. Make your donation. Make your name known. Get your name into the records. The only thing that will give us a setback if we get tired. Again, the only thing that will give us a setback in this revolution is if we should get tired giving. Please remember all those who have died, those who no longer have homes, those who are in jails, and those in refugee camps, the children who are not going to school. How can we drop the ball on them? Please go to the website, mytriptoboya.com. Make your donation. We will live free or die fighting. Thank you so much for tuning in and for listening today. I hope you got and received the message. I want to encourage all those on ground zero once more. This fight is not going to end here. We are not looking back. We are not turning back. No matter every form of distraction, we are marching on. We are marching forward until we get to the foot of the mountain at the Prime Minister Lodge in Boya. That I can assure you, there is no turning back. Thanks for tuning in. Good evening, all of you back home in Ground Zero. And all of you in the diaspora, thanks for tuning in. God bless. And God bless Ambazonia.
Maintenant.